Hi everyone and welcome to our webinar. Thanks for sharing your busy day with us. Today, first of all, my name's Karen Bowness. I'm the marketing manager here at LiveHire, and today I will be the webinar moderator. Today we're here to talk about optimising intake meetings. Sorry about my dog. Optimising intake meetings and job requisitions. And of course, we have our favourite presenter and trainer, Barbara Bruno, to share her expertise today. Hi, Barb.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be here again.
Thanks for joining us. And also Andy Whitehead from LiveHire, Head of Sales Development. So let's kick off with our acknowledgement of country. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today around Australia and the elders past and present. We acknowledge the ongoing connection that Aboriginal people have to this land and recognise Aboriginal people as the original custodians of this land. Okay, as I mentioned, we have our amazing panel with Barb, Andy and myself as your webinar moderator. We're just going to kick off with a small number of housekeeping items, then I'll pass over to Barb. So as always, we're going to have our questions at the end of today's session. If it's a housekeeping type question, please feel free to send it through any time to ask me and just click on the Q&A box. Also, as you think of questions for Barb or Andy, please send them through and I'll manage those and ask them out loud at the end. We are, of course, recording today's session and it will be shared with you within the next 24 hours. When you leave today's session, you'll be presented with a survey. Those surveys help us improve the quality of our sessions. So we'll ask you to rate today's sessions. If you have any ideas or thoughts on future topics or future presenters, that information really helps us to build these webinars into information-packed sessions that you really want to tune into. This is our last event for the year. So look forward to our next event, which will be the end of January with Mark Puncher from Employer Branding Australia. So keep an eye out for that. If you'd like more information about LiveHire or our solutions, there is also a question in the survey at the end where you can just tick the box and someone will be in touch with you. The agenda for today looks like this. We've just finished our housekeeping. As I mentioned, I'm going to pass over to Barb, who's got a heap of content for you that will take up about 30 minutes. Then she'll pass over to Andy, who'll just show you how LiveHire can help you to improve your intake meetings and job requisitions. Then we'll finish up with our live Q&A where you have access to the amazing Barb, who will answer any question you have and help you with all of your recruiting efforts. So without further ado, I would love to welcome the amazing Barbara Bruno, who's always a really generous presenter. She's one of our most popular speakers. So over to you, Barb.
Okay, so got to get my screen up here, right?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. And I'm so glad to be here again. I love to do training for LiveHire because I really believe in what they're doing for everybody. And so it's always great. And what I love most is that many of you, we had mentioned that I was going to do this session, and many of you have been contacting LiveHire asking, when am I doing this session? So it was really exciting for me to hear the interest level in all of you. And again, just so you understand where I'm coming from, you know, I'm you. I still find people jobs. I'm involved in the job market. You know, I'm still very active. And so, you know, I'm walking in your shoes every day, but I've got the advantage of training some of the best companies worldwide and doing courses in that worldwide. So I'm interacting with our end users as well as job seekers. And so I interact with hiring authorities, with talent acquisition professionals, with staffing and recruiting firms. So the information I'm going to share is not my opinion. It's really based on data and fact, you know, what does work, what job requisitions really attract the best talent. Now, your attitude and planning impact the results you're going to achieve during intake sessions. And I think that intake sessions are the foundation for everything that you do. You know, clear communication between you and your hiring managers is critical to your success. And this information really does serve as sort of your GPS that's guiding your recruiting efforts. But, you know, and too often they're rushed, too often they're dreaded, you know, and what I want to basically give you is you know, a step-by-step format that's going to make you actually look forward to this process. There's 13 areas that should be addressed during intake meetings. And when I said that recently at a conference, people went, 13 areas. I'm lucky if I could discuss 4 or 5 things with my hiring authorities, but I want to go through these and show you why they're important. First of all, what you want to do during intake meeting is you want to set goals for your recruiting process. You want to align on the profile for the ideal candidate. So you want to make sure that your hiring manager and you are in agreement with who is the ideal candidate for their job. You need to obtain a detailed requisition. And you and I both know that often during intake sessions, you're given an old job requisition that has not been updated for a year, sometimes 3 or 4 years, where the job has really changed, but the requisition that you're given is old and it's not even relevant. You also want to discuss the job requirements and what are the must-haves, because so often, during intake sessions, it's almost like a wish list, and we would love for them to have this and that, but you've got to really determine in an intake session, what are the must-haves, what must be there in the candidate. You also want to determine the job title and the salary range or the budget. What is the salary level? The real game changer is to obtain 5 performance objectives. And I can tell you when we started obtaining performance objectives, basically almost 12, 13 years ago, and it was an absolute game changer. The minute we started getting performance objectives, not only were we filling jobs faster, but we were filling requisitions faster with top talent that then ended up being engaged and retained. And so the performance objectives were merely, we ask, how is this person going to be evaluated in 6 months to a year? Because, so often there's a disconnect between the job requisition and actually how they're going to be evaluating, the talent that you surface. And so performance objectives really are a game changer, and they're going to make your job much easier. You also want to get a target date to hire, because you and I both know that this is one of the most difficult challenges we face every day, is that not only do we have people on both sides of what we do, but they can change their priorities, they can change timing, they can change a lot. But if you get a target date to hire, then when you're trying to get the process moving, you do everything against the target date that you've been given by your hiring manager. You also need to know what problem exists, because if there's not a problem that exists, if somebody is covering this job, if nobody's threatening to quit, if the work is still being done, there's no urgency to fill it. And you don't want to go out there and find talent and interview them and then have it stalled because the hiring authority is not making a decision because there's no problem. You also want to determine what are the hiring stages and what are the touch points, because I know that what we want to do is partner with hiring managers, and yet often we feel that hiring managers are not giving us the information we need, and they don't realize that they're sabotaging our ability to find them the best talent. And when you determine hiring stages and you give them touch points, this is when you and I are going to talk and show them the benefit to the touch points. That's when they'll agree to it. I want you to think for a moment that when you're in an intake session, that the hiring manager has 5 letters on his forehead, WIIFM. What's in it for me? So when you're presenting all this information, when you're looking at all these areas you want to address, you don't want to say, I need this. This is what I need to do the job for you. This is how you're going to benefit by giving me this information. So often in intake meetings, it's the way you present what you need in a way that you're showing them how it benefits them versus that it's your process or something that you're trying to mandate or you need. People react much better when they see the benefit to them. And the truth of the matter is, the hiring managers don't care about you or me, and they don't care about all the other jobs you're trying to fill. They feel that their job should be your top priority, and they want your undivided attention. And they don't care about your process. They don't care what you need as long as you fill the job. So during the intake session, you have to position yourself as, okay, what is the time frame here? And these are the things I need from you, okay, that are going to benefit you, that are going to help me get the right person. It's going to save us time. It's going to save us time, and saving time is going to get your job filled faster. You also have to determine, are there going to be references taken, background or credit checks? Is there any assessment or testing involved? And if so, when? And again, often you can find different sources, different vendors, different resources. You know, when you're attending conferences of any kind, you should always be open to new resources. You know, even LiveHire, I don't know if you're utilizing the services of LiveHire, but anytime I go to a conference, I stay in the exhibit hall for quite a while. And I know most people avoid them, but I know that there could be something in there that could make my job easier or make my process more efficient. And you also want to discuss your sourcing strategies, including preferred companies and companies not to target. We have to know the companies that our hiring managers respect. We also have to know the companies that our hiring managers have no respect for. Because if we surface talent out of those companies, they're not going to get hired. And so I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want you to waste your time finding talent and then presenting it and wondering why they're not, you know, basically impressed by the talent. It's because they came out of a company they don't respect. So you have to ask them, you know, what companies would you prefer to hire somebody out of? Are there any companies you don't want to hire people from? It just makes your job and my job a lot easier. Pay special attention if the person leaving the job has been in the job more than 18 months. Because too often when an employee leaves, you're given the job requisition that was utilized when this person was hired. But what happens is the hiring manager utilized all the talents of this employee, you know, and probably many of them are not on this outdated requisition. I want you to think about your job for a moment. Think of your first day of employment. What was your job? And what were the tasks you do? And now think of what you're doing now. You know, employers are smart. They're going to use every talent you have. The job that you're hired for is very rarely the job that you end up doing. You end up doing so much more. So do the candidates that are in these jobs. And you're going to discover that those additional requirements are there, and you can surface them during your intake meeting once you say, what talents were you using that maybe are not on this requisition? Because I'm telling you, if somebody's been in a job 18 months, they're doing more than that initial job requisition. Now let's move over to the criteria for a fillable job requisition. We've addressed what you're going to discuss in the intake meeting, but now what's the criteria for a job that you know you can fill? Number one, you've got to get a target date to fill, but also interviewing times. To help you prioritize which requisition you need to fill, you've got to understand the time frame of the manager. You and I also know how long it's going to take us to surface certain kinds of talent. If it's a hard to find IT position, it might take us a little bit longer. If it's a sales job or a job where we know we've got an established network, we know we can fill those jobs faster. By requesting a target date, you're eliminating unrealistic expectations and you're setting realistic timeframes. Asking for interviewing times assures that individuals involved in the hiring process are going to make themselves available on the dates provided. It is still a candidate-driven market. I know there's nervousness in the marketplace right now, and people are a little nervous about next year, but there is still a tremendous lack of top talent. I'm going to give you an example. In the United States, everyone's talking about all the IT layoffs. There are over 220,000 jobs eliminated, in the United States, IT jobs eliminated. Those same companies are hiring contractors, and on LinkedIn, there are over 140,000 jobs, IT jobs that have been open longer than 60 days. So even though there's been layoffs, there's many companies that are hiring. And so when it depends on who you talk to, what the market looks like. Most people feel that there is still a lack of top talent, and that's why your services are needed so much. I believe that the talent acquisition team is the heart of any company. Without you, your company doesn't achieve goals. Without you, they don't have the talent they need to achieve, get projects done, get anything accomplished. So what you do is very important. You change candidates' lives for the better by helping them advance in their career, but you also help all of your hiring authorities achieve their goals and objectives. And that's why you've got to learn to partner with them. In this competitive marketplace, a delay can cause you to lose great talent. You've got to discuss that with your hiring manager. Give them the reason how it benefits them to give you a target date so that you can use your timing. You don't want to surface someone too quick. You don't want to surface someone not fast enough for them, and you want to know that everybody's going to make themselves available. I can also give you one other tip here that I don't believe I'm covering in this program. If you've got multiple people and you have hard time pinning people down and you're losing top talent, suggest panel interviews. Have your hiring authority run the panel interview, have at least 2 other people on that panel that are going to interact with that candidate. And all they do is delve deeper into the answers that the person is giving their direct report who's conducting the panel interview. But panel interviews will speed up your hiring process big time. You also want to prepare a list of questions. Once you've completed your preparation, compile a list of questions to reveal the hiring manager's requirements, their challenges, their goals, their timing, and their performance objectives. And again, I believe that performance objectives are one of the most important things. If you're not getting that right now, this will change your life. It will make your job easier. It's going to make you happier. It's going to improve engagement and retention just by knowing how the candidates are going to be evaluated that you put in jobs. To organize your questions, you should break them down into 10 categories. Fundamentals. What are the responsibilities of the job? What are the skills and competencies needed? What about soft skills? There's a lot of people that can do jobs that have transferable soft skills, which is why you want to identify the soft skills needed. Again, you see me mentioning performance objectives, compensation, target date to hire, interviewing and hiring process, training and development, because, again, you've got millennials making up the majority of the workforce. And in 13 months now, it's almost December, in 13 months, millennials and Gen Z will represent over 70% of the workforce. They want training and development. And if they can't identify that, they're not going to take the job. So you have to find out what type of training and development will be offered, personal development, professional development, and what are the selling points? Because you've got the selling points of your company, but what about the selling points of the department? There's a different company culture in every department in your company. Obviously, the accounting department has a very different culture than your sales department. And what are the selling points of the department that you're representing? And also, I've got sample questions in all of these areas. I've got the best questions you can ask in all 10 areas. And what LiveHire is going to do when I'm done is they're going to develop an ebook. And I've given them all the questions. You and I don't have enough time to go through all those questions during this call right now, but I wanted you to have the questions. I just didn't want to tell you to, ask these questions. I wanted to give you the specific questions you're going to ask. Now, questions asked during any intake meeting will vary greatly from one hiring manager to the other, and it depends greatly on the level of opportunity and the hiring process for each specific job. And then what are the specific preferences of your company? Because you have to know what's expected, and the more, you never want to leave an intake session confused, because if you do, you're not going to fill the job. You've got to ask every question you need answered during these meetings. Also, you've got to stop writing job descriptions or job requisitions that are boring. Most job postings, most job requisitions, most job openings that are posted are just absolutely boring. They describe an overview of the position, credentials, experience, and skills required, often in the form of a boring list. They focus on what your company needs and wants, rather than exciting a prospective hire about a position. Your job descriptions have to become marketing collateral. And if you've never thought about it this way, I just think about, the jobs you're putting out there. Would it excite somebody? Or are you just telling them what you need? Just like I told you not to go into an intake meeting telling a hiring manager what you need as a talent acquisition professional, because they're not going to listen. You've got to show them how they can benefit by giving you what you need, but you're wording it in a way that shows them how it benefits them. It's the same thing with your job descriptions. If they're boring job description and you're saying what you want, what you need, you're not going to get the high achievers. You're not going to attract those peak performers. I want to give you an example of some verbiage you could use that makes a job sound more like marketing collateral. We're looking for a creative self-starter who wants to join our dynamic team. Now, that could be a job in an accounting department, where normally accounting jobs are very boring. But, if you do need a self-starter and you do have a dynamic accounting team, look how different that is. Or if you're an overachiever who wants to head up a new international project, that will start out with what is an overview of the impact this person's going to have, and get them excited about being not only a part of your company, but a part of a team. If you enjoy working with, so this is how your job requisition should start. And if you're posting jobs, think about creative titles. You know, it's not even something as simple as a receptionist could be called a director of first impressions. I mean, if you want an out of the box thinker, you can't have boring in the box titles. You know, and I know people search for keywords, but they're also looking for something that's going to excite them. Candidates don't want to do the same job that they're doing right now, even if you offer more money. So say that you're looking for a director of marketing and I've got the exact credentials you want. I'm doing that exact job for one of your competitors. And you're thinking, this will be a great match for me. The truth of the matter is, I want to learn when I come to work for you. I want to do some things I'm not doing for my current company. I don't want to do my same job, even if you offer me more money. So you've got to think about, you know, how is this person going to stretch? You know, what are they going to be able to do for you that they're currently not doing? You know, we always want to hire someone who's doing the exact same job. They turn over quickly. They don't become engaged and retained because they're not learning anything. And eventually they'll leave quicker. Now let's talk about performance objectives because I've mentioned these so many times, but I think this is the most important part of what I'm teaching you this evening. When you're talking to your hiring managers, don't rely on that laundry list of skills, education, experience, or credentials needed. Because what happens is you can surface a candidate that could do the job hands down, and they're screened out because they only have 6 of the 10 things on the list, and yet they could do the job. If in fact you ask, how are you going to evaluate this person? There's a tremendous disconnect between the list of credentials that you and I are given and what they're really going to evaluate a candidate on. And once you get the performance objectives, how are you going to evaluate this person? Give me 5 performance objectives. You're going to be able to eliminate a lot of things on that laundry list, which makes your job much easier. And you're going to be able to fill the job and find candidates that can do the job. And they're not going to be eliminated because they don't have, you know, 10 out of 10 of the list, the things listed on the credentials. Also, what's great about this is sometimes they give you what they're going to evaluate them on, and it's not even anywhere in the job requisition. Like they're going to evaluate them on something they forgot to tell you because the current person in the job had this skill set. So when you see how they're going to be evaluated, you want to look and see if there's something you need to add so that you do put a person in the job that becomes retained and engaged. You want to share the performance objectives with everyone in the hiring process, including prospective candidates, because when they learn how they're going to be evaluated, it often has a great impact on their level of interest. We recently had to pull somebody from a job because when we shared the performance objectives with this woman, she said, why are they evaluating me on that? She felt they were evaluating her on one thing that was beneath her, that they shouldn't be evaluating her on this, that she found it insulting that they were going to evaluate her on this. And the truth of the matter was, if we hadn't shared that with her, she might have got the job. But then when she realized how she was going to be evaluated, she would not have worked out. She would have ended up turning over, you know. And so when you share the performance objectives with candidates, it's going to excite the right hire. So the person that should be hired is going to be, that's great. And there's no, it serves as again, a GPS once they take the job. The new hire is more likely to become engaged and retained when they understand what's expected of them. Like they know exactly what they have to do to get a great evaluation after 6 or 12 months. And you have to say to the hiring manager, you know what? I not only want to fill jobs for you, I want you to come back to me in 6 months and say, that's the best hire we've ever made through you. And in order for me to do that, I need to know how you're going to evaluate the candidates I'm surfacing for you. It's an absolute game changer. You also want to strengthen the rapport and trust with hiring managers because, again, you've got their success in your hands. They don't realize it, but you have the success of your hiring managers in your hands because if you don't give them the best person out there, then again, they're not going to be able to achieve their goals. When you're done with your intake meeting, I want you to send a final draft of the job requisition and your action items to the hiring manager for their review, because you're going to be amazed at the changes they're going to make once they read what you write down. It's going to save you both time and help you key in on, again, the talent that's going to become engaged and retained. And then you want to maintain communication with the hiring manager as you're completing the action items that you both agreed on. So when you're giving them this follow-up in writing, you know, it's basically a summary of the intake session. You're telling them the touch points. You're letting them know exactly what's going to happen. And so you're keeping them informed. Because remember, every hiring manager in your company wants your undivided attention. They want to be your top priority. But again, when you get a hiring date, you've got interviewing times, and there is no confusion up front, they can feel like a priority. And you're giving them a ton of information at the very beginning, so at least they know what you're doing. Sometimes they feel like when they're in the dark, they don't know if you're working on their job or not. That's when they call and constantly drive you crazy, asking you if you've got candidates for the job. If you've got interviewing times up front, they know exactly what you're doing. It makes your life easier, and it cuts down on a lot of those follow-up calls because they know what you're doing. Now, how do you develop rapport and trust with hiring managers? Because rapport and trust are something that you have to earn. And I want to give you some tips on how to develop rapport with your hiring manager. Number one, I want you to tell them you want to be the best listener in their life. I want to understand where you're coming from. I want to see the world through your eyes, because if I see the world through your eyes, I can do a better job of finding people for you, people that you're going to be very pleased with. So the more I understand, about where you're coming from, I want to see this through your eyes, what you're trying to achieve. I could do a better job for you. Don't agree, disagree, or judge hiring managers. That's not our job. It's not our job to agree with them, not our job to disagree with them, not our job to judge them. We have to figure out who we have to put in front of them that they're going to hire without hesitation. That's going to be a successful hire. Number three, always focus on how you can benefit them. Word things differently. It's not what you need or want. It's what they can do that is going to result in you finding the best talent for them. And keep them updated and informed. And when you give them that summary of the intake meeting, you're showing them the touch points. You're showing them how you're going to keep them informed, so there's no confusion. Inform them when you hit a wall. If you're out there trying to recruit somebody and you're not able to find certain skill sets, and another hint I want to give you, when they're describing a job, break the job down into percentages. What percentage of the time are individuals going to do each task of the job? Because sometimes if something is less than 5% of the job and it's a very hard to find skill, if you put somebody with that skill in a job and they're only going to do it 5% of the time, they're not going to be happy because they know that skill set is valuable. And so make sure you're taking percentages, because it gives you a very of the job. Think about this. If you wrote a job and it has 5 main areas of responsibility, if you don't use percentages, I'm going to assume that the job is 20% of those 5 tasks. I'm going to spend 25% of my time doing those 5 tasks. One of those tasks could be 90% of the job, and the other 4 tasks can only be 10%. That's a very different job. So use percentages when you're taking job requisitions. But when you hit a wall, you meet with them and you figure out what adjustments you can make so you can surface talent for them. Let your hiring managers talk about their family. Be their sounding board. Every person I've talked to this week, we had Thanksgiving in the States last week. So I asked everybody, how did you spend Thanksgiving? Did I really care about how everybody spent Thanksgiving? Maybe not, but I wanted to let them talk about themselves. And it was just a great icebreaker. How was the weekend? Do they have kids that participate in sports? Look around their offices. Where did they go to college? What common denominators do you have? You want to let them talk about themselves, because when you do, they like you more. Always treat them like a priority. Even when their job is not your top priority, treat them as a priority. Keep them informed, and under promise and over deliver. Never make promises. You want to make sure that they're thrilled with the job that you're doing for them. And so I believe the number one rule always is to under promise and over deliver. So people are surprised by the quality that you're presenting, and they're surprised by your ability to deliver on time, and so under promise and over deliver. And always ask for feedback. Let them know that I would love feedback, because every time you give me feedback, I can fine tune my efforts on your behalf. If they screened someone out and you ask, why was the person screened out? Often they'll say it wasn't a fit. That doesn't help you and it doesn't help me. And that's what they often say, it just wasn't a fit. Sometimes they don't like the person, and that's why they don't want to hire them. They could be very qualified. But rather than saying, what was, why, what is the reason you screened them out? Ask them what you missed. You obviously screened this person out. I'm sorry, I don't want to waste your time. What did I miss? What was missing that should have been there? That's when you're going to get feedback. If you ask it any other way, they're just going to say it's not a fit. If you say, what did I miss? I don't want to waste your time. I obviously missed something with this candidate. I thought they were great. but I would love feedback from you because that helps me fine tune my efforts on your behalf. I don't want to waste your time. Your time is very valuable. When you develop rapport and trust with your hiring managers and you become proficient during your intake meetings, you're going to fill more requisitions faster and with the best talent. Now, I would love to answer any questions that any of you have. And so please hang around. I know that Andy is going to give a presentation. And by the way, you never know that what Andy is going to talk about, you never know if that's something that could also make your life a lot easier. I know whenever, somebody is sponsoring a webinar, often people will fall off the minute the company comes on that's sponsoring. Well, I have to tell you something about LiveHire. They love to provide training for all of you, and they're always asking me, what are the latest, greatest? How can we help individuals? And so it's worth your time to listen to what Andy has to say. And then as soon as he's done, I'll answer questions on anything. So it's not just on my program. Any questions that you have on anything at all, I'll be glad to answer. And so, please just let me know any questions that you've got. So I'm going to stop sharing. And Andy, the screen's all yours now.
Thank you, Barb. Very enlightening.
welcome.
I took some notes there. Thank you all for spending the time with us today. And like Barb said, whoever's sponsoring has to do a little plug. So the little plug is from me today to talk about LiveHire. For those that aren't using the platform, I know we have a lot of clients on the call today, so you're very well aware. But hopefully I'll leave you with some thoughts today of ways you can improve your processes with the platform as well. But LiveHire is a recruitment platform. Our vision is to empower the flow of the world's talent, and we kind of think of that in a way that it doesn't matter which type of talent it is, whether that be kind of your permanent employees or contingent workforce that might be coming to the organization, or even think about internal talent and the way they can better find the jobs that they need to be doing within your company to stay there longer. And of course, we also do some work around helping people find their next role externally. So we kind of think about ourselves as this total talent management platform. Primarily, our clients are using us for that talent acquisition piece, but like I say, same platform, different use cases depending on who's using it. Now, mostly we are focused on the candidate and the recruiter experience, and primarily that's around the idea of giving you visibility of candidates and a really seamless way of engaging with candidates. So everything done via text message. But Barb was talking about this concept of better building a relationship with hiring managers to be able to then therefore deliver better talent to them. So I wanted to touch on a couple of the things from the back end of the platform around more of the recruiter user perspective that we can really help you with that partnership piece. Now, what you're looking at here is a job vacancy form, which can be really dynamically it can be adjusted with our partnership to dynamically capture different information based on the previous questions being asked. So what we're looking at here is a little tick button. Has this been budgeted for? Yes, no. The result of that question will have a follow-up question. Now, you can imagine this form could be configured to start to capture some of that information around percentage of a role being spent on certain tasks, or what are those key competencies that a person is looking for. And our requisition form, as I'm going to jump into the actual real one here, can also capture things like what we call specialties or skill sets that a hiring manager might be looking for. So you can really start to use this form as a method of collaboration with your hiring managers, being able to capture some of that data within there. And this is a fully mobile optimized form as well. So you won't find kind of drop downs, etc., that can't be used on mobile phones. So your hiring managers are able to get on there and use the platform pretty efficiently as well. The second thing I wanted to touch on, going back to my slides here, is this concept of partnership again. We have this concept of talent pools. So being able to build talent pools of talent ahead of a hiring need arising. That's the concept of being able to say, well, this is the type of skill set that our hiring managers are looking for. We know we're going to have to hire X number in the next 12 months. Well, ahead of that hiring need arising, we can start to prepare and engage with talent before that hiring need and put them into talent pools. With the system doing a lot of that suggesting for you and searching through your database to find those individuals that might be suitable. Now, a lot of this comes about because of the candidate side efforts we do to make it really easy for candidates to engage with your brand outside of a specific job. But then once you've built these talent pools up, they become a really great visual tool to sit down and have that conversation with hiring managers around, well, these are the things you've told me you're looking for. Here's a bunch of candidates that I've already got pre-prepared that might well be suitable. Can you give me some feedback on these candidates specifically? So then I can adjust and tailor my efforts to find the really best people for you. And potentially one of those people that's in the talent pool already is really suitable for the job, and send off a text message to them in bulk. 1 in 3 of those people will accept that invitation for the job. So you could well have a hire within that same conversation of an intake meeting. That same suggested match technology works at a job requisition level. So once we've had that intake meeting, you've filled out that form, you've built all that information into the job requisition around the type of person you're looking for, our system will do some of that searching of your database for you, looking for the skills, the capabilities, the availability, salary expectations, etc. And the other thing we're looking at with our algorithm is how active are these people on the platform? So are they actually looking for a job today? Are these people available and willing to come and work for us? And so again, really quick to then send a text message off and invite those people to apply, which if you're doing that really quickly, you're getting great people through. Again, boost that collaboration with the hiring managers and boost that rapport and trust process overall. We also have other tools that you can bolt onto our platform, a growing ecosystem all the time with open APIs available as well. So you can tap into additional tools and things that will help you further increase your efficiency, which helps you fill roles more quickly, and helps you boost that collaboration with your hiring authorities and hiring partners. That's enough from me. Really quick overview. Thank you all, and I'll pass you back to Barb for any questions that you might have. Karen, you're on mute. There's always one.
Sorry. There's always one in the group, isn't there?
Yeah.
So yes, folks, now's the time to send through your questions. We haven't got any in at the moment, so feel free to send them through. That would be great. And as Barb mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to be about the topic for today. It can be any recruitment question that you may have or feedback. So
I do want to give a comment, though. I was interested, Andy, the AI aspect of your match technology. That's amazing. I mean, that would be extremely valuable. Like, I haven't had a chance to really delve into that. And that was interesting to watch your overview. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's helping speed things up significantly for a lot of our clients. So time to hire drops significantly. A number of candidates required for a shortlist drops significantly because those people are engaged. They're part of a talent community. They're interested in the brand already. We do have a hand up from Shatika. I'm just trying to jump in the chat and get that question from her. But if you can pop the question in the Q&A box there, Shatika, at the bottom, we'll be able to get that from you.
So
here we go. Got some questions going.
Okay, so we've got a few there. Do you want me to run with those?
Yeah.
Okay, so from Heidi, how long do you book in with hiring manager with this complexity of brief? So how long should you allow for this meeting? I think Heidi's asking for your hiring manager meeting.
On average, 1 hour, 1 hour of their time. And, and again, if they understand how it's going to benefit them, if you're doing a shorter time frame than an hour, but you're doing preparation up front, you could actually get done with this in a 45-minute period of time. Once you're dealing with a hiring manager over and over again, it can even be much shorter. It can get down to 30 minutes. But that initial time, you're doing preparation. You're asking for a copy of their job requisition before you go. You've got your questions done before you go. You've already looked in your database to see if you've got, potential people that you might even want to share to see, to get some instant feedback. And so you want to allow an hour, but then it does get shorter the longer you work with a hiring manager, because now they know how to work with you. But you've got to allow enough time, but tell them why it benefits them. If you spend an hour with me now, we will save hours of working together down the road.
Perfect. Thanks, Barb. Heidi also followed up with a thank you. I love the performance goals component. Many great takeaways. Rebecca's asking, I recruit for nursing in corrections, so jails, I guess that is. I've reached out to 70 people this month through LiveHire with less than 5% conversion or acceptance rate. Anything else I can look at except EVP?
Okay, so I don't know exactly how she's reached out within LiveHire, but let me tell you what candidates are tired of. Candidates are tired of being sold. They feel that all you care about is filling a job, that you don't care about them at all. And that's how candidates feel. They just feel that you've got jobs to fill, you've got this list of jobs. And so you go out and you reach out to as many people as you can, hoping that somebody's going to answer and that you get to fill your job. They don't feel that you care about them. Stop pitching jobs. If you're going out and reaching out to candidates, slow down. Like, don't sell anything. You can't sell something to a person until you know what they want. And most candidates don't want to do exactly what they're doing right now next. They might want to do something different. They might want to change their industry. And so the reason you've got such a low response rate is because you're not showing them how it benefits them to talk to you. When you reach out to people, don't pitch a job. Stop pitching jobs. I hope you hear that in your sleep at night. Stop pitching jobs. It no longer works. What you want to pitch is you want to pitch a conversation about what they want to do next. Give your brand is your track record of success. Okay. They think we're all alike. They think all companies are alike. But if I call someone and say I call an engineer and say in the last 90 days, I've helped 5 engineers advance in their career. I sat down and found out what was most important to them, and I helped them advance in their career with our company. And once I know what's most important to you, I'd love to possibly do the same thing for you. But you're not pitching a job. You're pitching a conversation to find out what they want to do. Because if you pitch a job, you're proving them right that all you care about is filling a job. So it's not a capacity that's not working in LiveHire. It's not anything. What's wrong is the way you're approaching them. You're probably selling to them. You might have a job and say, I saw your They hate when they get, I saw your profile. I've got the perfect job for you. They hate that. What they say, I do calls for job seekers all the time and they don't know who I am. So they complain about us all the time. And they go, how dare you think you know what I want? You don't know me. I don't want to do what I'm doing now. So slow down, stop pitching, just talk about your track record of success, helping people just like them advance in their career, and suggest a conversation to find out what's most important to them. And that number is going to go way up.
Rebecca, I think from a purely technical perspective as well, the message templates that you're sending, maybe just take that step back. And as Barb says, rather than it being just a very generic, this is a job for you, let's have that conversation. So really easy for you to adjust those templates or just to go in and change the message as you're sending it out. And to Barb's point, think about that person. What's in it for them? How can we tailor this to help that individual each time?
Just like hiring managers have that tattoo on their forehead, so does every candidate. And the reason they don't respond to recruiters is they're being bombarded by recruiters and they think we're all alike. They even refer to us as you people. You people keep calling me, and so, you've got to differentiate yourself. So suggest that you want to learn what's important to them first and do a general interview, and then you can do a much better job for them.
Perfect. Thanks, Barb. Rebecca's followed up with, what do you suggest if hiring managers want to see every single CV?
My job is to save you money, Mr. Hiring Manager. And I think that's why I'm here. I'm here to partner with you. This is not best use of your time screening resumes, because if somebody sees one word on a job that they can do, they're going to apply. And I don't want to waste your time. And I think the reason we're here is so that we can really, we can take the tasks off your desk that are not best use of your time. You tell me what you want. You tell me what you want this person to do. I'm going to present the top 3 people that we surface, and then once I get your feedback, I can fine tune my efforts on your behalf. But I would hate for you to feel that you've got to see every CV or every, that we surface, because it's not best use of your time. That's why you have me.
Exactly. Shatika has a question. Hi, Barbara. I wanted to ask if I'm hiring for an IT role, which requires technical skills, how do we control the tests online in the world of ChatGPT apart from proctoring?
Right, you're right. And it was not only ChatGPT, but it's also the online testing. They'll have somebody else take the test. That's happening everywhere where somebody else is taking the test. And so I think one of the first things you need to do is when you're interviewing, and if it's a specific IT job, you have to have questions that you can ask that show you if the person has the basic knowledge of the IT job that you're going after. And you could go to ChatGPT and say, what questions do I have to ask a developer that's going to do this? What are the top 10 questions I should ask them? And what should their answers be? So once you've done a general interview, and now you're going to be presenting an opportunity, actually as part of your interview, use ChatGPT and other AI tools to formulate the questions you should be asking that person. You don't have to understand the job yourself, but artificial intelligence can give you the top 10 questions, the top 5 questions, and tell you what the answer should be, because then they have to answer those on the spot. Somebody else can't be answering their questions. You've also got to make sure, though, that the person you're interviewing is the person that gave you the CV, because they also have other people show up for interviews. So, we have to check more because there's a lot of dishonesty going on.
Okay, that's tricky. From Natalie, how can I get hard-headed hiring managers to have a more realistic perspective on their ideal candidate? They are often looking for this magic unicorn that just doesn't exist in the market, and they push back on other candidates because they don't want to consider anyone else.
Right. What's going to help you are the performance objectives, because I'm telling you that the performance objectives prevent them from wanting a unicorn. It's almost an ego thing where they've got this big list, and if they're going to use it or not, getting percentages of what percentage of their time they're going to use certain skill sets will help you. But if you say, I want to know how you're going to evaluate this person, what does this person have to do? I want you to come back to me in 6 months and say, best hire I ever made. So what does a person have to achieve in 6 months to a year? And then you really know, then you look at the skill sets, you look at what they're asking for, and you realize they don't need half of it. And when you let them know, you know what, I can save you time and money. Plus, if I get you somebody who can do the job and yet learn, a little bit of a stretch for them, those are the people that are really going to stay and be your best employees. I can get you peak performers, but I have to know how they're going to be evaluated. The performance objectives do away with those unrealistic expectations. And you're not going to change a hard-headed hiring manager. Like, you can't go in there with the intention of making a hard-headed hiring manager more flexible or whatever. But when you ask them different questions, when you show them how they're going to benefit greatly, and you don't want to just get them to fill a job, you want to fill a job with someone who's going to stay at the job, that resonates with even the most hard-headed person.
To add, if I can, Barb, from a tech perspective, again, where some of our clients are using the platform to help with these conversations, is purely in like the search capability within the platform, sitting down with the hiring manager saying, here's our database of talent from the last 3 years of applications or whatever it might be. Or when we do a launch with a client, we typically build their talent community for them. So there's a ton of the market in there already. And then you can go through and search for them, some of those skill sets with them in real time and say, well, look, we've got, say it's 20,000 people in the database. There's only X number with exactly what you're looking for. This is the needle in the haystack we're looking for. You can back that up with ABS data and other forms of data as well. But bringing some data and some insight to that conversation about the availability of that talent more broadly in the market can often help with that conversation too.
Right. And when they ask for a unicorn, unicorns usually want a lot more money, and so they're going to end up paying a lot more money. And if you don't keep them challenged, they don't last long. And so when you show them you can save them money and save them time and get someone that'll do a better job, again, always showing them how it benefits them to be a little bit more flexible. And you're not going to change somebody overnight, little baby steps, but start positioning yourself as a partner. Get going really prepared, go in, with the type of agenda we're going to give you. Look at the questions that you're going to get in that ebook. So you're going to sound so much more informed than you've ever sounded before. And they're going to start trusting you more because you're positioning yourself as a workplace expert, not just somebody that's just trying in an intake session, trying to let them control it.
Thanks, Barb. One more from Rebecca. If clearance times are long, for example, 8 to 12 weeks, what deadlines would you set with the hiring manager in the intake meeting?
So I don't know that I understood you, Karen. The hiring process is going to take 8 to 12 weeks.
I think this is like a compliance-based organization with lots of checks and balances they need to do to get the clearances for these people to work in the organization.
I would be, again, if I know it's going to take that long, you've got to be realistic. You've got to know the time frame to hire, and you've got to be sharing that with both the candidate and the hiring managers. But again, you've got to have them spot on, ready to interview, so that you don't lose the candidate. Because what happens is, even if it's a job where candidates understand clearances, they understand it's going to take longer. If it's delayed a week or 2 weeks longer than they expect, you're going to lose them. So I think that the checks and balances, you've got to set up realistic expectations for this hiring manager. But again, you're telling them, I don't want to lose these candidates because the hiring process is so long because of the clearance. We don't want to have any delays, and so let's set up these timeframes right now. And so that we can both hit these targets. But I would set very specific dates and targets with that end date always in mind, that you're going to be done by that end date.
Well, this is a good one from Christy. One of the departments in our organisation has a negative view of the internal talent function and often skips us out of the process and does the recruiting themselves or uses an external agency. What do you suggest for changing their perspective of us when they don't give us a chance?
I don't know that I would waste my time with them. This is a terrible answer to your question, but you've probably got other hiring managers and other departments that respect you, that realize what you do. There's always going to be a department. There's always going to be a hiring manager. They might have a friend that's a third-party recruiter. They might have a company they've used through their whole career, so they've got this great relationship going. And, rather than spending all my time and energy trying to convert them, and the truth of the matter is, even if they do give you the job requisition, they're going to probably still use outside sources and end up hiring from them, and you've wasted your time. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on them. I would possibly ask other hiring managers to let them know what a great job you're doing for other people. If they hear it from their peers that you're doing a great job for other departments, that's when they might turn around. You trying to go and convert them when they have no respect, they don't think you can do your job, they're using outside resources or doing it on their own. It's such an uphill battle, and all of you are juggling so many priorities. Do you really need to spend that much time trying to convert somebody to believe in you? Help the people that believe in you, get the best talent for everybody else in the company. The word will get out there that you're really good at what you do, and then hopefully that turns them around.
Great answer. Thanks, Barb. Okay, another one from Shayla. How do you manage when hiring managers keep changing what they're wanting in a person, keep changing the role?
Right. That's not going to happen when you pin them down to performance objectives. That was one of the reasons we came up with performance objectives 12 years ago, was because that happened to us all the time. And the job, and again, when you give them the job in writing, like when we take a job, we have a job requisition, we give it to everybody in the hiring process and say, look at this. Are you all on the same page? Because sometimes you have 3 people at a table and none of them agree on what they're going to hire. But it's the performance. How are you going to evaluate the person you hire in 6 to 12 months? There's your GPS. And then they're not going to keep changing, because once they agree on how they're going to evaluate the person, it's easy to go from that point to the list of skill sets you need, and they're not going to keep changing things. I'm not going to say they're never going to change anything, but let them see it in writing after your intake meeting. Ask for their input, ask for the changes. We've had people change a job title, income range. It was amazing. They changed the whole job. Once they saw it in writing, they go, that's not what we need. I go, well, that's exactly what you just told me you wanted. That's not what we need now. I go, well, what do we need? And so then when they told me what they needed, I said, that's a lot higher than the person that left. So what are you going to pay? And they went up with $25,000. So if we had worked on that initial thing that they gave us, we would have spun our wheels and set up interviews. The minute they saw it in writing, they knew it was wrong. They knew it was wrong.
Perfect. Okay, last question from Sally. How do you position the question regarding the target end date where the hiring manager has unrealistic view of the time to hire?
I'm going to ask them for a target date to hire, and then whatever. So say I would love your target date to hire, and we're recording this call in the end of November, and say they say December 15th. which would be ridiculous. It's 2 weeks, okay? And maybe it's a job that I know is going to take us a month or 6 weeks to fill. And I would say, I would love to do that. You have no idea how happy I would be if I could do that in 2 weeks for you. But I can tell you right now that it's going to take us 2 weeks even to just get through our initial screening process, especially for the skill sets you're looking for. And with all the compliance issues, we're probably looking more like 6 months. And I don't want to give you unrealistic expectations. I would rather under promise and over deliver for you than to take a date I know I can't hit. And so you've got, you can't, don't quote how you feel about it. Stick to facts. These are the facts. I think sometimes, and hiring managers don't want to hear how we feel about things. They don't care about our opinions, but if you're quoting facts and giving them, this is how long it will take, they realize you're smart, you're intelligent, and you don't want to disappoint them. Say, I don't want to waste your time, but I don't want to disappoint you. And I don't want you to have unrealistic expectations. I wish I was that good. I wish I could find you somebody and we could hire. That'd make my job a whole lot easier. I mean, I would love if we'd cut this interviewing process down. But what we're facing with, neither of us can do this. And so let's talk about a more realistic approach. Don't even use the word realistic. They're going to hate realistic. Let's talk about what actually is going to happen. And then we can come up and agree on a mutual target date to fill. Because I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to waste your time.
Perfect.
All about them.
Perfect. Thank you, Barb. That's a great answer. And that was our last one. So thank you so much, Barbara, for sharing your expertise and being so generous with your time with us. Thank you, Andy, for your expertise and time. And thank you
Always a pleasure.
To our wonderful audience for sharing their day with us. It was fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar at the end of January. So we wish you all Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And look, keep an eye out for that ebook that Barb promised, because I'm doing the layout for it now. Thanks,
right,
everyone.
Get that ebook and have those questions in front of you. I mean, this is going to be a tool you're going to use. And so make sure you get that ebook. And Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful holiday, everybody that's on the line. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.